The Pope's visit to Ireland at this moment of crisis in the Catholic Church was always going to set the global agenda on how the Vatican tackles its legacy of child sex abuse, and Pope Francis didn't waste any time.
I cannot fail to acknowledge the grave scandal caused in Ireland by the abuse of young people by members of the Church charged with the responsibility for their protection and education. The failure of ecclesiastical authorities to adequately address these repugnant crimes has rightly given rise to outrage. I myself share these sentiments.
Ireland's Prime Minister has been at the helm of social reforms in the country, including the recent popular vote to legalise abortion, long prohibited by the Catholic Church. He said it was time to build a new relationship between church and state.
People kept in dark corners, behind closed doors, cries for help that went unheard. And these wounds are still open, and there is much to be done to bring about justice and truth and healing for the victims and survivors. Holy Father, we ask that you use your office and influence to ensure that this is done here in Ireland and also around the world.
In this saga of widespread abuse of children by members of the Catholic Church, protests were inevitable. These people looking for action, not words, from the Vatican.
I do get the feeling, though, that trust will not be returned within the Catholic population from simply what Pope Francis will say to the Catholic population. He needs to make clear that actions are going to be put in place and what those actions are going to be.
Alone in silent prayer, the leader of 1.2 billion Catholics. Later in the day, away from the cameras, he met 8 Irish survivors of religious and institutional abuse for 90 minutes. Likely the most emotional moment of his 36-hour visit for all involved. Pope Francis has gone further than any pope in acknowledging the Church's wrongs. But as new allegations of abuse continue to surface, the biggest challenge to the Church in Ireland is the Church itself. Pope Francis is in Ireland at arguably one of the darkest moments in the Church's modern history. But can Pope Francis, universally respected as a true reformer, reinvigorate faith in what the Catholic Church stands for? Thousands of the faithful packed Croke Park Stadium to hear Pope Francis speak. His visit is a moment of joy for many believers in Ireland, a country where more than 70% of the population identify as Catholic. But as the country embraces secular values, Irish society, regardless of faith, wants to hold the Church to account for past wrongs. Neave, Al Jazeera, Dublin.